DVD extras, take one.
Thank you.
Perhaps the most surprising thing is that I was surprised, to be honest. I won't say I've filmed all over Africa, but I've done commentaries from BBC documentaries on Africa since the year dot. So I thought I kind of knew most things. But I never knew there was this huge underground cave, Dragon's Breath Cave, filled with water and so deep that nobody knows where the bottom is. And that's amazing. Those of us who've been working on these kind of programs for decades and decades, you say, oh no, we're not going to do another sequence, are we, of lions? And then there was these little lizards that decided to hunt flies on a lion that's trying to sleep. And how have we missed it? And giraffe. You know, we all think we know giraffe because they're in the zoo and they're all so lovely and they bend down and they take the carrot from your hand and so on. But that fight between the male giraffes, it was really, really vicious. To see one being knocked over by the other surprised me. Back in 1954, the London Zoo was going to send off a trip to collect things for the zoo, which is what zoos did in the 50s. And Picotharty gymnocephalus was going to be one of these. We trailed around Sierra Leone with a photograph saying to chiefs and villagers, you know, we've seen something like this. And in due course they did. I mean, we met a chief who said, yes, there's up in the rock there. After all this traipsing up and down, we finally found it, and Charles Lagos was the cameraman, and we were filming in black and white at that time, looked at it and said, sorry, you can't film it. I said, what do you mean? He said, there's not enough light. And so here, we achieved it all, and we couldn't record it. And in the end, we very judiciously cut off little bits of branches just to get enough shafts of light in without disturbing the birds. And got the first shots. But the sequence in this series has undone that because the technology has moved on. To see it properly filmed, as against what it was 60 years ago, was a joy. You see how beautiful it is. It's a really beautiful, graceful bird. And has this extraordinary skull cap. There are two species I happen to know. There's another one living in the Cameroons that has a blue helmet, and this one has a yellow helmet. It's a lovely bird. The naked mole rat is a fabulous creature and fascinating. They are so unlike anything else at all. I mean, they're like little tube trains, they're underground trains, you know, they're like a sausage, and you can only really tell the difference between one end and the other because the top end, the front end, has these teeth. The sausage actually closes behind the teeth so that the teeth can work like a mechanical excavator without any of the stuff that they dig going into their mouths, because the mouth is shut behind the teeth, can you imagine? So that's the front end, and the back end, well, as Lee said about the back end, the better, I dare say. When it gets to the end of the tunnel, it does that with the underground tuba, which it's found, see, and then reverses and goes all the way back backwards. They could almost turn round within their own skin, which is a sort of an anatomical sort of conundrum you like to ponder on. But I mean, it is. Their skin is amazingly wrinkly. They are an approximation towards insect termites, like termites, that live in colonies, where there's just one female that breeds. And there's no mammal that has that particular strange characteristic. The open savannas are an absolute paradise for filming because, you know, there's an elephant 250 yards over there. Great, let's get the long lens. And there it is, you can see what it's doing, and it's a doddle. The mere fact that you give yourself the discipline of saying, OK, I'm not going to take the easy solution. I am definitely going to do the northern part of the Sahara. And even if they're easier and perhaps more dramatic things, I will go there. And when you give that discipline, what you suddenly find is that there's a hell of a lot there that's really exciting, that is perhaps not all that obvious, but by golly, it's interesting. I've filmed an ant in Algeria, I think we were, called Cataglyphis, which comes out at midday when everything else has died of heat stroke and gets up the body, and within 10 minutes before it gets too hot even for the ant. I thought I knew that story. But the team found a species of Cataglyphis, which I had never seen before, and which is all the more romantic and actually enchanting, really, because it wears a metallic silver spacesuit. I'm sure it isn't silver, but whatever it is, it looks silver and it looks metallic. And it looks like these sort of automata on the moon, you know, that have been sent up by NASA or something. I thought that was absolutely fabulous. Congo rainforest, if you wanted to pick a really hard place to work, it's there, isn't it? I mean, constant rain, all sorts of insect pests, difficult communications. I mean, it's really, really hard living. The sequence, which really knocked me over, I thought was simply marvellous, was an adult female chimp that has found a nest of honey in a tree hole. And she takes branches and breaks off a branch and puts it in there and says, and makes another one that makes it different. And eventually gets the comb out of the hole in the tree. And there's this little baby watching her. That's one of the fascinating things, is that chimp communities have these cultures, and that babies just watches a mum all the time. And saying, oh, yes, and you can see the learning process in a sort of really touching way. This little thing looking up with me going, ooh, if I do that, do I get some of this, you know? It's an enchanting sequence as a result of a long, long time in very, very difficult circumstances, and I respect the team that got that. The shoebills, it is a sort of really spooky thing. I mean, it's like something. Well, in my childhood, it would be Arthur Rackham illustrations of strange crows with ghoulish things staring at you out of the dark and so on. It has this immense bill, terrifying bill really, and then these piercing eyes. There is this spine-chilling drama, and heartbreaking drama really, of how shoebills arrange their family planning. And that is, if there's enough food for two, you feed the two. But if there's not enough to go around, then you just give it to the one. And then the one that is being fed attacks the one that is not. I mean, in a desperately unfair and heartbreaking sequence. But that's what you have to understand about the natural world, that the kind of cruel things we find cruelty is part of the system. Because we've filmed so much in the open savannas, we tend to think we know animals and we know what they do. And you give your cast of characters different characteristics. Elephants are maternal and look after their babies, and lions are lazy and lie in the sun. There are all these stereotypes. And the stereotype for rhino is that it's a bad-tempered beast, it's got very small, bad eyesight, so you have to be careful, and it's liable to charge your Land Rover because he doesn't know what it is. And by and large, you usually see them in ones and twos. You don't see any more than that. They're not herding animals. And then suddenly, the team discovered this secret place where there were 15. And they're all coming to meeting one another. It's a social. It's a cocktail party. And to see them behaving in this sort of rather flirtatious way is rather engaging. This big clod-hopping thing that you think is, but no, they are rather sprightly and showing off to one another and nuzzling one another. Africa is full of lots of things if you're prepared to go off the beaten track and have a look. The directors have produced a series which does, in fact, give viewers a new aspect. If you're a filmmaker, so often you rely on people telling you things, but that means that it's already second-hand when you get it. How are you going to get the first-hand thing? By really, really looking, and wondering and asking questions. And if you've got enough time and you've got enough zest and enough enthusiasm and go, you're going to actually find out, and maybe you'll draw a blank every now and again. But every now and again, you also produce a winner.